How's it going, guys? So we're working around the new silos, getting dirt filled back in on top of the footers between the building. Been using the skid loader to get as much as we can, but this last little bit we can't fill in with the skid steer, so it's either shovel it by hand, or if we use the little backhoe, thinking we could do a lot of the work with that because we don't like manual labor around here. Try to avoid that. These silos are spaced out pretty nicely, so we can actually fit the skid loader in between them, just barely. We're a couple feet down below where we want to be. It's a lot of shoveling if we got to do it all by hand. We were able to get some of it done with the backhoe. Could reach this better than the other two. Gonna have to do some shoveling to finish this up. We'll let this settle for a while then, and then we're gonna put some stones in this area so it's not muddy. Hey guys, so it's actually the next day now. Got a little bit more backfilling to do around these silos. We'll try to finish that up this morning. The silo that we're feeding out of needs the most dirt. So this winch for the unloader, we wanted to keep this as low as we could because there's the triple cables. It splits to 3 cables at the top to go down to the unloader. And as you're raising it to the top, we wanted to keep those cables from wrapping around the winch as much as possible. Gonna have to keep the fill dirt below that bracket. I don't think we want that underground. This is just a temporary setup. This is actually working really well at keeping the feed in the conveyor. With the feed falling 80 feet down the chute right now, since we're about 2/3 full, there's a lot of air coming down with it, and then it has to go somewhere at the bottom. Seems to help a lot to have the conveyor covered all the way up to there. It slows the air down a good bit, and it doesn't really spill out too much. Once we get our permanent conveyors in for the robot feeder, we'll have a more neat looking cover on those. I want to work at this some more, but first thing I want to do is go check some crops. I want to check how tall the corn's getting, because it's going to need to be side dressed pretty soon. Cloudy day today, they're calling for rain later, so really hoping we get some rain. It's starting to get a little bit dry. That corn's looking pretty nice. This was the first field of corn that I planted. It's a 93-day non-BMR corn. We're done spraying this stuff. The only thing we have to do yet is go through with some fertilizer. I'll put the drop nozzles on our sprayer so we can just dribble the fertilizer down on the ground between the rows. And I like to do it as late as we can because the corn doesn't need it yet quite. When the corn's a little bit taller, it's easier for me to not get the fertilizer on top of the actual corn. I don't want the fertilizer on the leaves. I want it down on the ground so the roots can get it. We can still get through this for a little bit. I'll probably let this grow. Maybe we can put it on next week. This corn's looking really good though. Looks healthy to me. Could use a little bit of rain. If we get some rain tonight, be really good for it. Yeah, I'm excited to see what this variety is gonna do. We've never grown this stuff before. This is a red tail corn, and it's non-BMR, so it should have bigger ears, should yield a little bit more than we're used to seeing. Might not be quite as digestible as stalks as the corn we normally grow, but we're hoping to offset that with better yield and should still make good feed for the cows. So this will be the first stuff that we chop because the 93-day variety, it'll mature quicker, it'll dry out a little bit faster in the fall. And that's the idea for the bottom of the big silos. We want some drier feed. Checking out these fields that had the worst slug damage now. This was the worst field. You can see the new beans are starting to come up. So this would be the BMR. It'd be a brown midrib, so it's a higher digestibility silage corn for cows. This stuff's not usually quite as vigorous, but from what I'm seeing here, this is some nice looking corn. We're gonna put this on the top of the first silo and start feeding it right away. It'll feed better without fermenting much. It can be fed right away. I've never seen the beans this clean this time of year. We tried a different herbicide this year, put some Authority XL, it's called, on before we even planted. We sprayed that on. It's a residual herbicide. And these beans are really starting to take off, so I'm happy to see this. got that done. We didn't compact this, so it's gonna settle a good bit, but we figured we'll get the dirt in, and then that way the rain can work at compacting it. Still have this pile of wood outside that we haven't gotten to. My brother-in-law dropped off his splitter, so we're gonna go ahead and split all this wood. It's the next morning, working at the milking right now. So normally I'm the one that's moving cows, but this morning I'm standing in the parlor. So the other person's getting the third group over. I'm gonna milk this last side of pen 2. I was saying we were hoping for some rain last night. We got about 1.5 inches in the gauge this morning, so very happy with that. It would have been fun to watch it rain. It started raining a little bit in the evening, but then I went to bed and it rained a whole lot more, so I'm happy. So we've been using these Future cow brushes now for almost a year. I guess about 10 months. Keeping things more consistent no matter who's milking. The prepping is about the same for the cow. Getting them clean, and they're letting their milk down, so yeah, we've really been happy with these. Our parlor has 14 milkers, called a swing 14, because the same milker milks both sides. We rarely use all 14 though, because it's pretty hard to get 14 cows in here. Most of the sides are just 13 cows, and even that can be some work sometimes to get them in. I kind of wish when we built the parlor we put this pipe right there or something, give us a little bit more space. Or put a rapid exit so all the cows could walk out the front like a lot of parlors have. It just make milking a little bit easier, but this works pretty well for us. Now this side, they're done milking. I'm gonna post dip these and we'll let them out. So this is iodine and some lotion type stuff to keep the teats healthy. Keeps them from getting dried out. Just opened up so you can see we got the gate on the end. Open that up and then they have to make a 180-degree turn right here and walk single file back that direction. It can be a little bit slow. If a cow decides she's gonna stand back there, then nobody else can move. If you're gonna build a milking parlor, I would recommend doing something with indexing Basically, when the cows come in, they have a specific spot they need to stand, because the way this is set up, everybody just walks in, they have to push against each other. There's no real stall for every cow. So if the first one decides she wants to stop right here, then we can't get enough cows in. So we gotta try to move them up. We've been in this parlor for 20 years. It's been getting the job done. I don't want to complain. The cows are all milked. I'm just cleaning everything up now. Take some time to wash the outside of the milkers. I already did that. And now I'm gonna hook them up to the wash cups. Before I go and wash the floor and the walls of the parlor, I'm gonna go start the wash system. That way I can see it start then and make sure everything's working. This is the control box, so let's flip that over to wash. Hit start, and then we just like to hear that water going into the wash vat. It means everything's working. So that'll fill up with, it'll just be water the first round. It'll rinse it, and then there's 2 more rounds. It runs a detergent cycle and then a sanitizer. I'll just take the garden hose, clean up the floor and the walls a little bit. At the end then I like to just hit the tops of the milkers with water. Make sure we get everything clean. Yeah, it's muddy around here again. Gonna try to finish up the wood splitting today. This is really not exciting content, but we got all the hardwood split. Just have these pine logs to split at some point. Just working on some video editing in my office and getting some rain now. Yesterday we had something delivered. Right here we got these drain boxes. The next step with the robot project is to get those installed. We got to concrete a lane from right here up across to the shop and then one up to the freestall barn, and it's really coming down now. We got to do something to make sure the water gets cleared out properly. We want to put a drain box right here. We'll run a pipe underground that way. And then there's 3 more drain boxes going in over there to get rid of water. So those are sitting right there. We got to get the excavator out to dig the holes for those. I got 1 heifer that we need to breed this afternoon, so I'm just going to tie these in and get this one caught. It's a beautiful rain. Crops are just loving this. Now that the rain slowed down, you can see these a little bit better. Just got big plastic pipes we're gonna have to hook into these and bury. And I'll have these metal covers on. We were needing to do something for drainage for a long time on our farm. And now that we're putting this concrete lane in, we're kind of forced to do it. It's a little bit of extra cost with the project, but it's something we needed to get done anyway. We'll be working at that pretty soon as we can get the guys here to dig the holes for us. We're having issues right now. There's a little bit of fall that way, but not much, and it puddles up when it rains heavy. And we get water in this old pit. So this old pit just filled up with water last year. It's kind of a waste. There she is, number 162. We're gonna breed. We used to have to spend time every day watching the heifers for heats. And now we got the Smack-Stack boluses in them, so if the bolus says it's a good heat, then we know it's a good heat. We just breed them on that. I don't have to watch her at all to see if she's jumping around. It's the next day now, and we decided that we're going to start side dressing corn. I got the sprayer out because I need to switch the nozzles over to these drop nozzles. Drop the nitrogen fertilizer down between the rows. We'll dribble it on the ground. My plan was to wait till next week. I'm worried that by Monday this corn is going to be getting pretty tall. Probably could still get through it, but it's definitely going to grow fast, and soon I won't be able to drive in it anymore. Seems like the field soaked up the moisture pretty good. They're not really muddy. I think we'll be able to drive in them just fine, especially the no-till ground. I was showing you those drain boxes yesterday, so the first one's gonna be right at this spot. We just don't have enough fall this way to get the water out of here very well to start with, but now that we're gonna be putting a concrete lane across to get the robot up here, there's gonna be even more of a pool of water here unless we do something about it. So we'll put one box there and then a pipe down that way, another box at the corner there, and then the pipe will go beside the silos down to the waterway. I'm looking forward to being able to keep this driveway a little bit cleaner, no puddles. And then this area is still gonna be kind of low, but there's gonna be less water coming this direction. All right, let's get this spray ready to go. So I have these triple nozzle bodies. They're really nice. You can just turn them to different nozzle sizes that we want to use. I'm gonna have to take one of the sets of nozzles off so we can put the drop nozzles on. Got it switched over. Every other one we're not going to use because our nozzles are every 15 inches. We only need every 30 inches to go between the corn rows. And I like to leave the outside one off because I don't really think we need to dribble nitrogen on the outside of the first row. Plus, it seems to be more prone to getting damaged on the very end here. We're going to be running 20 gallons of a 25004 fertilizer. It's going to be nice and easy to fill. I don't need to add anything else. My sprayer has 100 gallons of clean water storage, so I can circulate that through the whole spray system, out the nozzles, cleans the tank out and everything. So I did that after I was done spraying the other day. But the nice thing with this is this fertilizer is gonna go circulate through the whole system. We'll make sure we get every bit of chemical out of that sprayer. And then when I wanna spray soybeans next week, I don't have to worry about anything damaging the soybeans. I like to time it this way if we can. So this is mainly nitrogen. There's a little bit of sulfur in it and a stabilizer just to help keep the nitrogen there until the plant needs it. Hopefully we get some rain in the next week or so that'll help wash it into the ground a little bit. Just trying to dribble that nitrogen right between the rows, keep it off the plants. This is quite a bit more difficult than spraying because I gotta stay between the rows, but I also need to make sure I don't damage those drop nozzles on the ground if I go over a bump. So I'm constantly trying to adjust the height of them so it doesn't hit the ground, but it stays close enough to the ground to be below the corn. They can rub on the ground a little bit, but don't want to do that too much. I'm working at the home farm now, and this is probably our ugliest cornfield right out front so everybody can see it, but it's the way it is. Slugs actually got after this field pretty good. It was worse than I thought, but it's growing now. This is some of the BMR silage, so it does seem to be a little bit less resilient. Hey guys, so it's Monday now, a couple days later. I'm finishing up the last field of the corn. Glad I started last week because it's getting pretty tall. I'm still getting through these fields though, so it wouldn't have been the end of the world. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. I appreciate you guys watching this video all the way through, and I'll see you in the next one.